Okay, making a video. Hooray! Wipe the lens here. Wipe off my fingerprints off of the lens. Very good. So I just had my meeting with Professor Benatar, and he's actually a young cat. Didn't know what to expect when I was coming in there, whether it be a old grouch or a younger guy, and this guy was pretty young. I'd venture late 20s, early 30s, something like that. Anyways, our conversation was fairly brief, very overviewy. I kind of just said, yeah, I like the book and yada yada yada. Told him about Gary. Importantly, gave him some of the website stuff, so I don't know really how it went, whether he was very receptive or gave a shit. Really doesn't really matter. It's just kind of nice just to meet the guy in person and to kind of see where he was at, whether he really advocated the anti-natalist position or not. It seems like he very much does support anti-natalism as an idea, which is positive. I guess in that sense it exceeded my expectations because, I was talking to him about the optimism delusion, the article that he wrote, and we seem to be on the same wavelength about a lot of stuff, about the imposition argument, about the, restriction of people's reproductive, quote-unquote, freedom. I kind of mentioned the consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction thing, and the DNA part, and he seemed to be more or less in agreement with that as well, so we're just kind of exchanging ideas and terminologies, I guess, more was the idea. I don't know if I'm going to have any further correspondence, but I just did I did what Gary asked. I put him in contact with the videos and talked about Jim Crawford, Metamorph, and the Stickam. Don't really think he's going to be in Stickam, but I told him about the chat, and I can't say he seemed all too very interested in that, but that was kind of what Gary asked me to do, so that's done. We'll see how that works out, but I don't know. Just seems like kind of where to go from here. Putting this into practice, really. Anti-natalist policies. Working towards possibly another political system that will be more receptive to the demands of the anti-natalists. Just kind of moving forward, making progress, convincing people. Didn't really get too much on that, but I did definitely express my desire to do so. And it's getting really fucking windy, so sorry about that. I'll cut it off right here. Okay, thanks. Back again. So it's basically a question of where to go from here. Anti-natalist policies, changing to a political system that's going to be representative of the minority, and also changing hearts and changing minds, to be cliched, getting people to basically get deconverted from either fake atheism or the fucking God delusion. And in order to do that, you have to be comfortable with debating the subjects intimately, very intimately. You gotta have the arguments crushing basically the God delusion. You've got to thoroughly rout somebody in an argument and basically make them look foolish for positing the existence of a deity. And that's what it's really all about, is that positing the existence of a deity is a completely fucking ridiculous notion. And that's the one I'm sticking to. I'm not going to talk about the effects of religion. Just this pure and simple straight up fact that there's no reason to posit the existence of a deity except fucking human ignorance and trying to fill in the gaps and shit like that, and trying to explain phenomena that you can't explain. It's a fucking ancient way of deluding oneself, is this positing the existence of this higher power that has somehow miraculous control over our thoughts and feelings and da 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 da. And that's another thing, is the question. Well, yeah, that's basically it. So that you've got to be well versed in that, in crushing the idea of the existence of a supernatural being, which is not very difficult in Myers, but you do have to do a good job in being convincing. So that involves refuting a lot of the common arguments that people use, to attack atheism or to defend Christianity. Shit like that. You need to be able to smack those down. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Da 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 da. Whatever. Insert a response to some sort of Christian delusion, like, oh, but intelligent design. You could just be like, whoa, bam, smack that shit down. You got to be well versed in that kind of argument, and that's something that I look up to Gary a lot on, is his ability to just smash the shit out of these God believers, and just totally wreck their shit. Just how, like, they're having a bad day after that. That's for sure. So I don't know if it's my demeanor. I don't get very angry as easily as Gary. I don't speak as forcefully, as often as Gary does. I really only start blowing up when somebody is just being completely moronic, idiotic, stupid fucking bullshit. But if somebody were to just say, oh, well, I believe in God, and I would just, that's kind of a different situation, because it's like, it's put forth, more benign sort of way, I guess, yeah. So going into that tone of voice and, overall demeanor aspects, one has to be a master in controlling one's demeanor and basically bringing out the beast only when it's appropriate, really. And then at other times, being able to really form an argument. I'm not saying that Gary doesn't do that when he gets more excited, but I'm just saying that there's a tone of voice for everything. That's something that definitely needs to be taken into consideration when you're going about this whole process of deconversion, is, yes, this whole aesthetic bullshit, unfortunately. So, mastery of argumentation about the atheism subject, and about the anti-natalism subject. And this is something that's even more contentious and harder to prove than atheism. Even if you thought debating religion was hard, try debating anti-natalism with somebody, and they're just going to be completely aghast. And that's what I discussed with Professor Benatar, is this taboo aspect of anti-natalism. And that goes into Jim Crawford's book as well. Like, what? You blow up the earth? What are you, some kind of crazy psychopathic monster? Like, you want to end human existence? That is a burden that has to be overcome, and mastery of argument is going to be the fucking only way to do that. There's no doubt about that. You have to overcome these people's delusions, and that's a very hard thing to do. Some people are too hard-headed to accept change, and that's another thing that I'm going to have to take into consideration as well, is that there are going to be people who remain steadfast to their delusions, and whatever, they can't be helped by me, I guess. If they can't be brought on board, then so be it, really. You can't force somebody to change his or her opinion, but you can make those opinions less, I don't know, worthy, less discussed. If there can be a majority or something of that nature, I see some sort of conflict stemming from the holdouts to the anti-natalist position. So that's pretty much where I'm coming from, is that dealing with the people who are going to be resistant to change, and that's an important facet to recognize, is this whole notion that changing people, changing hearts, and changing minds can only be done to a certain extent. But in order to even accomplish that, you got to have this mastery of argumentation, and that's something that I need to work on. Yeah, I feel reasonably confident about my own beliefs, but the expression of those beliefs and the persuasive aspect is, I've been working on it for years, but I've watched thousands of these Gary videos, but just the whole persuasiveness and getting that out, being an advocate, that's much more challenging. Yeah, so I guess I'll about home. I think I've said all I'm gonna say, so yeah, till next time and such.